Okay, well, good evening. My name is Carolyn Connors, and I'm the Programming Director at Elephant Artist Relief Society, or EAR, as our friends call us. I'd like to begin tonight in the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth by honoring and acknowledging Mohkinstsis and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the IATSE and Tsuut'ina nations. EAR acknowledges that this territory is also cherished by the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We celebrate all nations, Indigenous and non, who honor this land. We are grateful to engage in an honest and eager process of reconciliation and strive to be an ally. We are all treaty people. On behalf of the EAR leadership team, I'd like to welcome you all. We are grateful to each of you for choosing to spend your evening with us, so thank you for being here. This year, EAR celebrates 16 years of service to the local arts community, and our mission has remained the same: to provide practical resources that help sustain the livelihood and practice of artists in the Calgary area. To achieve this, EAR offers monthly professional and personal development talks such as this, a bi-weekly online artist meetup group, a wide variety of community resource information, and our core program of emergency financial relief for artists who find themselves in a crisis situation. As a charitable organization, we rely on volunteerism, membership, and fundraising to do what we do. You can help us raise awareness, and if you can, consider donating online. Our thanks to those who've already gifted EAR. The Society is 16 this year, and we're encouraging supporters to contribute a monthly donation of $16 to mark this anniversary. Every dollar is allocated to providing relief for artists in times of need. So just one last bit of housekeeping. Throughout the presentation, we ask that you keep your mics on mute so there's minimal background interference. You can use the chat box to write your questions as they come up, and we will record those for the Q&A portion of the evening. Now I'll pass you on to your host and moderator for the evening, EAR's own Karen Begg. Karen is a community advocate and passionate volunteer who has over 20 years of experience supporting and contributing to Alberta arts and culture. She has dedicated time to multiple culture organizations over the years and is currently the president of Elephant Artists Relief. So enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Carolyn. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you coming out tonight to hear our Umbrella Talk. Tonight's Umbrella Talk features a discussion among three fabulous film professionals who represent every aspect of the industry. They'll share their insights on the process and discuss how we can navigate as artists who want to work and find work in film. We're lucky to have the union behind the entertainment, live events, motion pictures, even trade shows. We have all areas of production, design, and editing. We also have representation for actors and recording artists, voice performers, hosts, and choreographers, even puppeteers. Tonight, we have panelists Tom Benz, the motion picture business agent from IATSE. We have Tina Alford, branch representative for the Alberta Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television, and the Radio Arts. And of course, Lisa Pearl Whitten, a business agent for the Directors Guild of Canada. I'm excited to hear their insights on the creation process, skill development, and the career paths that we can take as we dive into the exploring the opportunities in film. I'd like to introduce Tom.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here with my colleagues, Tina and Lisa. I represent as business agent IATSE 212. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Edmonton area and started a high school film club in 1972. By 1980, I was working in the industry. By 1990, I was a production manager and a line producer, and started to cut my teeth on bigger pictures like Cool Runnings on Second Unit. I did the Lonesome Dove television series and was lucky enough to be the production manager on Brokeback Mountain. I've done all this work while being in Alberta, and now I've been a business agent representing people instead of money for the last 8 years here at IATSE. Would love to pass the microphone to Tina Alford from ACTRA.
Hello, everybody. Again, great to be here. So yes, Tina Alford. My background actually is in not-for-profit world. I worked for Interfaith for a number of years. And then I somehow applied for, got a job with the government of Alberta, running the Alberta Film Commission office down here in Calgary. And so I worked actually with Tom on Brokeback Mountain, doing locations and sort of logistics stuff, basically helping productions, trying to help productions smooth the way if they want to shoot in different areas, helping different producers as they're trying to pitch Alberta as a location. So putting together location packages, going out, taking location photos. So I was there for 8 years. And then after that, I was sort of headhunted by ACTRA, which I was really excited to be a part of such a strong organization that represents performers and stands up for Canadian culture. And shockingly enough, I just celebrated my 14-year anniversary with ACTRA Alberta just in November. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to sharing a little bit of what we do and how Lisa and Tom and I all work together to facilitate production and also stand up for our members and their rights.
Lisa.
Hi, everybody. I'll echo Tina there. I'm very happy to be here today or this evening. So I'm the new business agent for the Alberta District Council office under the DGC. So we are a national organization, and I've been with them for 2.5 years and just recently put in this position about a year ago. My background is a little bit, I don't have Brokeback Mountain or anything as a large production in my background, but I started with some smaller shows in Vancouver, working on those as a production assistant, which is a position that we represent within the industry, and made my way into broadcast, into CTV for a while, and then found myself doing commercial content and some non-union stuff, which, you know, happens, lots of people do it, and made my way to the DGC office because there is a very large group of people that I have a kinship with that I wanted to connect with again and help support. So that's how I landed back in the film world, not so much doing corporate commercials, but yeah.
I'm going to set this talk up, trying to motivate you guys to think of your best questions and how we can move forward. I recently watched an interview with Cameron Crowe, who did an incredible film called Almost Famous, and he struck me with a line in that interview that said everybody has a quest to figure out what they're good at, and motion picture provides an experience where people can truly find themselves. And I think what I want to impress upon you is, if you're going to make it in this business, you have to really do a self-evaluation to see how you can fit in. The motion picture industry has such a wide variety of skills and not only that, personal and people skills required. And so I've lived with these 4 questions. The questions have never changed, but after 45 plus years in the business, the answers certainly have. And it's about, what do you think or know about yourself? And the 4 questions are, what am I good at? What do I like to do? What am I no good at? And what don't I like to do? I can cut to the end of my story and say, I never imagined being a business agent after all the experiences I've had, but I really enjoy it. And looking after people is what this business is about. So for a good start into the industry, ask these questions of yourself and ask them throughout your entire career. Again, the answers will always change, but the questions won't. And when you apply your answers towards choosing which labor organization best suits your criteria for success, you're on your way. So let me very briefly describe the unions. ACTRA represents all of the people who work in front of the camera. When you think of it, ACTRA is the reason the industry goes to work, to capture their performance. That's what it's all about, capturing the performance. The Directors Guild represents those who are in the directorial support unit, who schedule, budget, administer, manage the director's picture. It's a lot of fun, and that's where I lived for 35 years in the Directors Guild. The Teamsters are the only union that is not totally dedicated to the entertainment industry. They represent more common labor standards, which are not specific to the entertainment industry, like catering and food services, transportation and all the laws of the highway and roads, and of course, animals. And animals are highly coveted and protected, and truly are actors as well. 669, IATSE 669, now known as the International Cinematographers Guild, represents all those people exclusive to the camera department. They have a common interest, and when you think about it, the camera is the only thing you need to make a film. You actually don't need a director and you don't need an actor. You can make films on everything. But the films that we produce in this segment of the industry are all directed drama, and they are because of the director and the actors, again, that we go to work. So IATSE 212 represents all the technicians, craftspeople, and non-performing artists. We have over 20 separate disciplines, which make up 70 to 75% of a film crew when it comes to the population of seeing the people on set and in the offices and in the shops. Motion picture production is essentially a manufacturing industry that creates a product that has value in the marketplace. IATSE 212 supplies the assembly line of that motion picture industry. So as I describe the different labor organizations, you can see that they represent and attract all different kinds of filmmakers, technicians, craftspeople, performers, and artists. And so as I describe that to you, I'd like you to think for a quick second, where do you think you're going to fit in best? At least to start. Very few people end up where they started. I know a couple of directors who were directors when they were born, and they're a director today. But most people, I'll use myself as an example, I tried being a camera assistant. I was a gaffer on a National Film Board project. But I ended up here at age 65 as a business agent, and a long, long way away from my first experiences. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to my colleagues, Tina first, to discuss ACTRA, so that you can hear what the labor organization of ACTRA is all about, and then we'll go to Lisa, and she'll talk about the Directors Guild, and then I'll finish up with a little more detail from IATSE 212. Tina, you're on.
All right. Thanks, Tom. So yeah, ACTRA, so our acronym that's not really a current acronym and sometimes doesn't make sense, is the recording artist. So we represent recording artists and performers across this country. We're a national union, over 28,000 performers across the country and a little over 1,300 here in Alberta. And like Tom mentioned, IATSE represents a number of categories, so do we. Puppeteers, stunt performers, choreographers. I think Karen or Caroline mentioned that right off the top. Plus a whole bunch of performers that you might not see. So it's not just in front of the camera, they're behind a mic, right? So like animation performers, these are all voice performers, video games. We've got contracts with video game companies up in Edmonton. And so it's a whole wide range of individuals that we present. And so we have a number of collective agreements that we negotiate with various groups of producers based on budget level and based on the type of project. So we ensure that this is all like kind of the not exciting stuff, but we ensure that, you know, performers are paid a fair rate for the work that they do, and that there's also decent working conditions. Because when you're working, especially when you're working on like a larger production like Last of Us, where, you know, every minute is hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes what I like to say is like the human factor gets forgotten, meaning, you know, little things like having washrooms close by, having places for people to sit, right? And especially for us, we represent background and minors. So we need to make sure that when they're not on camera and doing their performance work, that there's a safe place for them to be. So that's why, for, you know, for unions in general, but for us, we need to make sure that they're protected. The other thing is, I did mention minors. We're one of the few industries where minors, you know, like 15-day-old babies are allowed to work, right? And so we stand strong and make sure that the little ones, our little wee ones, are protected when they're on set. So that means, you know, they have shorter working days. For example, we make sure that if they're shooting during school, during the school year, that there's tutoring available. That's mandatory. So if they are missing school, the production has to pay for a tutor to make sure that they don't fall behind in their schooling. It's something we're really very proud of. And then also with minors, in all of our collective agreements, we have it baked in that the producers, engagers, they set aside a certain percentage of money that goes through ACTRA into a trust account for each of the minors until they're 18 years old. So that, you know, if they've been working a long time, we all heard the Macaulay Culkin stories and a lot of horror stories, a lot of them coming out of the US, where the parents, you know, pimp out their kids. Sorry, I know that's a terrible term, but, you know, and take all the money and there's nothing left over. So just for example, we had a commercial, because we also work in the commercial realm. And so we had a commercial a number of years ago that was for Shell, and it was an international commercial. And so it was shown all over the world. And so the more eyeballs you have on a commercial, the more money a performer makes. And so they were out at a school in Springbank. And so there was a lot of kids that were like 9 and 10 years old. And they made, like, and this doesn't happen all the time, but they made up to $30,000 on this project. And now, as they're all starting to age out and turning 18 and 19, they're contacting our Performers' Rights Society, which has their money in minors trust. And, you know, we're getting another $10,000 approximately that a lot of them are going to use towards school or, you know, a car or something like that. So that's just one of the little things that we do that I'm very proud of that ACTRA does. And so, yeah, our different, quickly then our categories that we represent. they're the membership categories that we represent. We have performers that simply do background work, or we hear them called extras, but they basically, that's their job. They don't want to they want to have speaking roles. They simply love going to a set and just being background. So we have an entire category of membership just for background. Then we also have apprentice members. So those are members that are working towards becoming full members. And that's all based on a permit system. So you have to get a job on an ACTRA. Yeah, you have to get a gig or a spot or a contract on an ACTRA job to get a permit to go through the apprentice process. And then we have our full members, and the full members receive benefits, retirement benefits, health benefits. They can sit on council and do a lot of the important work that we do as a union. So those are just kind of our three basic categories of membership that we have. And there's always opportunity if you're a background member, you can move up to apprentice, and then of course up to a full member. So that's kind of ACTRA in a nutshell. I mean, I could go on for days, but I'll just start there. I'll hand it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Tina. And one thing I will say is that a lot of some of Tina's members are also members of mine at the DGC, and are also some members of Tom's. There's a lot of crossover with people in the industry, creative people, you know, they like to branch out and change things up and just be prepared for all kinds of opportunities. And I have some second unit directors that are members of Tina's union under stunt coordinators, and it's a, you know, that's another way we're all connected, because there's a lot of moving people within our memberships, and you're totally allowed, and there's no concerns, you know, to be part of multiple unions and the guild. So I represent the Directors Guild, so that's a national labor organization. I mentioned that we have over 5,500 key creative and logistical personnel from the screen industry, covering direction, design, production, editing. We negotiate and administer the collective agreements, and we lobby extensively or advocate extensively on issues and concerns for members regarding Canadian content, conditions, things with the CRTC regulations, and we ensure that funding is maintained for the Canadian film and television programming. So with my national office, all of those things happen, and we have a big support there across the country. But within Alberta, we're just a small and mighty office. You know, when you join the DGC, you join, your membership is you're nationally recognized, so you can move within the country and take jobs within any other province and under a DGC contract for the role that you're working in, or the category you're working in, which is, you know, as long as it's a DGC category. So it's pretty great because there's no restrictions. We have folks coming from you know, accounting in Ontario, and they want to come try it in Alberta and see what Alberta's like. And we've had lots of production managers that have been able to be fluid that way as well. So some folks do that and they grow their experience, and then they come back and they bring that with them as well, which is really, really nice. So we have 10 departments all together that we represent. The Alberta District Council represents. So production managers, like Tom said, that's one of his tricks in his toolbox that he's got. Production coordinators as a department, post-production picture editing, post-production sound editing. We have a locations department, assistant locations, assistant directors, production assistants, art and accounting. And we share our art and accounting with IATSE. So you can join IATSE in art, or you can join the DGC in art and accounting. So all of those different departments have different streams. So if you want to there's all these, there's entry level for each of those categories. So there's always opportunity. And what we find is folks might join or start working in a category like production assistant, and then they really find that they like locations and they stay in the locations department and move up within that stream. Or they might decide that they like doing a completely different thing and move into the production office and go into a coordinator stream. So it's really interesting because we're finding right now that a lot of people, especially with the influx of productions we've had over the last few years, have spent time in their categories, and they're kind of interested in branching out. They're done. You just hit a wall, and you have an opportunity there as a production coordinator to then take a job in art if you'd like to, if somebody offers you a position. So we're finding right now that there's a little bit of a tide turning with folks shaking things up a little bit, and that just makes them a more well-rounded screen professional, and it's wonderful, and they get to grow and meet different people in different departments and expand their knowledge, which is pretty great. I mean, people are pretty the creative people are pretty open to change, and it's an exciting thing to watch. We have a permittee program, which I can see a couple of your names. Some folks here are registered permittees with the DGC, so that's great. And I see a director here as well. So you can, to work with the DGC and to be on a DGC contract, you would typically go down the route of becoming a registered permittee and doing our introductory courses. And once you've taken there's 3 courses, once you've taken those, you're able to accept a position on a DGC show or a signatory production. And then you start to gain your days and your experience. And once you hit a certain threshold, then you can become a member and join. And then you get, benefits and all the things that the union provides. While you're a permittee as well, working on a show, you're also under a DGC contract. So we represent you equally as if you were a member. So you're in a unique situation there. You're not getting healthcare and those things that, people really look to the unions for, but you still have your rights and someone watching your back and making sure that you're being treated fairly, which is great. And I won't go too much. I think I went through my little spiel here, but it's, the process of becoming a permittee and turning into a member can be as long or as short as you'd like. If you continuously take work and take jobs back to back, then, it can be as quick as 5-6 months. Or if, we have folks that have changed, left the industry, come back to the industry, they've applied their previous days worked and taken those days and, started again from the bottom, getting their days, and we've added those all together, and then they're starting now on their second and third careers, as the industry is growing again and just expanding. So they're taking all their externally learned knowledge and coming back and helping. So it's great. We're in a really good position right now for growth, and it's a great time to talk to you guys and let you know what we're doing. And I'll throw it to you, Tom.
Thanks, Lisa. So IATSE is quite a different organization compared to ACTRA and the DGC, in that ACTRA and DGC are national unions, and IATSE 212 is a local with a jurisdiction of Southern Alberta. There are 360 plus locals in IATSE, the International Alliance of Theatre and Stage Employees. And we don't just cover motion picture, we also cover stage and trade shows. I'm the motion picture business agent. I have a counterpart, Ian Wilson, in stage, and he covers the live events with our members. So not all locals in IATSE are mixed like we are. When you're a 212 member, you can work in stage and the live events, as well as being categorized in motion picture. IATSE 210 is Red Deer and North, and we have a special relationship with them where their crews of their members flow into our jurisdiction and vice versa without extra permitting. However, when IATSE members from other jurisdictions want to work in Calgary, we have to permit all of them and justify that our members are not available for the work. And it's quite a process, and some of the pictures are massive. We had 1,100 job postings on The Last of Us alone, and we're only a membership of 1,500. So you can imagine how many people ebb and flow along with locals getting hired. The other thing about IATSE is that to become a member, you're truly judged on technical merits, which you can measure that. So for instance, if you're coming into the hair department, the requirement is to have a provincial hair license. If you're in special effects, they would want you to take a pyrotechnics course and get a certificate. So there are many measurable ways to certify qualifications within IATSE, and it can become tedious. We've had people as permits for a long time while they get their skills, years in fact, before they become a member. The permit process does not cost you to be engaged as a permit. When you work, yes, you pay you have dues deducted by the employer, but it's only once you've qualified to be a member, which is 60 days in a category on a union show, that you start to be listed as a union member. Union members get hired before any permits, including those trying to find work from other jurisdictions. And again, we have well over 20 categories. And as a labor organization, we have the most diverse population in skills. We share accountants with a DGC. We also have special effects people. We have makeup people. We have editors, which we share with the DGC. We have art department, which we share with the DGC. But then we have some of the supplementary departments like props and set deck, construction and greens, which all contribute to the design of a film. So we work hand in hand. The important part to understand about Alberta is that 80% of our work comes from outside of Canada. And in an area like Toronto or Montreal, there are far stronger Canadian film industries than what we're trying to grow in here in Alberta. Quite often, our members in IATSE, their paychecks are fueled by American dollars. And Alberta is a very attractive location for a number of reasons. Geographically, it's more or less just north of Los Angeles. We're on the eastern slopes of the Rockies, which gives us fabulous light. I'm not sure that you're aware, but when The Revenant came in with all of its Academy Awards, looking over the years, Alberta has attracted more American award nomination in Globes and Oscars than the rest of the country combined. That's the kind of work we've attracted here. A lot of it is, yes, we have light and locations, but in fact, we're starting to have skilled crews. I remember trying to start out as an assistant director, and I couldn't get on the American shows. Well, today, many of the American shows are hiring our own Alberta assistant directors. And in my time, I've seen Canadians do fabulous work on American shows. And Alberta does have the advantage of attracting, all of Canada attracts pictures from all over the world, but we attract more than our share. And it's because our crews work hard and the show looks good. So to speak a little bit more about how to become a member, we have a caucus system, and with over 20 departments, we have over 20 caucuses. They each set their criteria. If you were to visit our website, you would see all of the departments listed, and just cruising through them shows you the diverse set of skills that the entire industry is looking for. I mentioned earlier that there's a place for literally every kind of skill and every kind of personality in this business. It's true. How do you connect with the prize? Now that's an adventure. And I've often described a career in motion picture as a hallway full of doors. And you open a door and you find another hallway full of doors. And these are all opportunities. If you want to get back to where you started, leave breadcrumbs, because you just keep going down these doors and opportunities, and you network with people. And if you're a technician or a craftsperson in IATSE, you start to realize common skills, and you network to where you believe you'll be successful. Again, it's about the self-evaluation. What do I like to do? What am I good at? What don't I like to do? And what am I not good at? And I find as people, for instance, get in as a locations PA, they see a grip working and they go, you know, I could do that. And they see themselves in that. But the opportunity to actually discover that is not as common as you'd think. And so the only way to really figure out a career in this industry is get off the couch and try. And there's two types of strategies. One is a wallflower, where you don't create any waves and you hope you get noticed and you're an accommodator. And the other one is being a risk taker. And if you're a risk taker, you have to realize that sometimes you're going to fall down. Heck, you might get tripped. And it's how you get up and how you show how resilient you are to problem solving. And you start to attract people who would say, you know, motion picture's tough, and I'd want to be in the foxhole with that person because they can solve difficult situations. You get noticed for things like that. People want you on their team. When it comes to the nuances and the details and regulations of how you would get into any particular organization, they're all completely different. Be patient. There's nothing the same about getting into ACTRA as there is into getting IATSE or getting into the Directors Guild. But the more you learn about the other organizations, the better off you'll be. You know, if you're going to be a member of the Directors Guild and manage crews, you need to know all about the other unions, because you're going to have to deal with their agreements, deal with their problems, deal with their realities. And so in a big sense, although we're very different membership and labor organizations, as Lisa said, many people are members of all the unions, and they network that way, and they find opportunity and success. I really encourage you to get to know as many people as you possibly can in this industry, meet them, go to functions, and cruise our websites. Learn about us. Imagine being in those shoes. And, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So you really got to get out there and take a chance. And if you take a chance, there's a chance for a reward. And if you don't take a chance, there's no chance. And this industry, and I'd like to emphasize this, is the gig economy. To be successful, you have to consider yourself always unemployed, looking for a job, no matter how hard you're working. If you don't have the love of being insecure, you're gonna eat yourself alive when you talk to yourself in the mirror. It is an unstable industry. How do you find stability in it? Is through passion, through success, through networking, through never letting up that you're looking for your next job. And that doesn't matter which organization you're in. It's the gig economy. Every one of our projects end. the average of some of the one-off projects, like a feature, would be somewhere around 10 weeks. We just got through The Last of Us. That was 13 months of unbelievable, intense work. Many people who worked on that show wanted to take the next 13 months off. It was that intense. They wouldn't have survived if they didn't have the passion to do what they're doing. And you really do need to find that when you have those 4 questions every morning in front of the mirror. Do I really want this? And as I sit there and look at Tina, who I've known for years, and Lisa now, we want to be where we are, and that's why we're going to be a successful. And that's something I hope that you can find within yourself, because there's room for more people. The industry is labor intensive. It essentially green. We take a picture and leave the environment the way we found it, if we're doing our job very well. And it's attractive to any society, any jurisdiction. So there's a lot to be said, and you have more screens in your house, in every room, and yet I bet you guys know more about drilling for oil in the North Atlantic, because it's counterintuitive. It's like a magician telling their tricks. Motion picture is a suspension of belief. We don't make it common knowledge how we make the pictures, even when we have shows explaining it. And so the only way you're going to get this knowledge is getting into it, taking chances, meeting people, opening the next door that turns into another hallway. And next thing you know, you're old like me and having fun. Geez, I think I've talked enough. For question and answer, I'm not sure. Karen, what's our next step?
We had a couple of questions. Thank you very much, Tina. She's been answering a few of the questions in the chat, but there is one about the Teamsters. If you could talk a little bit more about that, Tom, maybe. Somebody was saying that there was possibly 3 lists, an A list, a B list, and a C list. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I can, to a point. What I will say about all labor organizations, they have a sense of seniority and qualifications. So what you would have with 3 lists in the Teamsters is you would have extremely experienced, long resumes and long in the tooth professionals occupying the top list, and the bottom list would be occupied by people who are new to the Teamsters and working their ways up. So within the Teamsters, their progress is measured by getting to the next list. And when you're at the next list, you are considered before the list below you. And so the way Teamsters work is more of a traditional hiring hall. They post jobs, people take it or leave it, and it goes down to the next person. We, as organizations, and of course actors, are completely different in how they would be cast for certain reasons, but we place people as much as we can given the qualifications that there are. We don't recognize seniority in motion picture, although our members have seniority. That's so that they can be properly dispatched for stage. So we really do listen to new members who have qualifications. That's a harder question to answer that way for the Teamsters. And, you know, with all due respect, the Teamsters aren't here to explain it for themselves. And if people really need those details, I encourage them to phone the Teamster Hall at 362, talk to their business agent, Mike Duffy, great guy and knows his stuff. I think I should leave the Teamster business alone at that point, but that's kind of how it works.
I find it really interesting to find out all the varieties of opportunity. I guess I'd never thought about a hairdresser. But of course, some of the other trades, I guess I hadn't thought about them, but I knew about carpentry for backdrops and sets. I think some of the information about the post-production and pre and post-production is quite interesting as well. When it comes to some of the opportunities that are out there, when I was doing a little bit of research about you three on the Directors Guild, I thought some of the definitions were very helpful of some of the opportunities that are available. Just to get that terminology, you have that up there on your website. It's easy to access. I thought that was really, really wonderful. Another one I kind of enjoyed was the production and the rumors list. So I found that kind of exciting too. I've noticed that almost all of your organizations have an entry-level opportunity. I've heard that you're quite familiar, Tom, with the set etiquette and protocol on set information. Is that the best starting point?
No, the best starting point is a talk like this, because by the time you get to set etiquette, we're hoping that at least to some degree, you found yourself, because the material needs to resonate and it needs to be what you're looking for. So when we teach set etiquette at IATSE, of course, we gear towards technicians and craftspeople. We wouldn't be catering to performers, and we wouldn't be catering to managers, nor Teamsters. So when we have our instructors, Gail Kennedy is a renowned makeup artist. You can imagine that her perspective in trying to give knowledge to someone who wants to become a Teamster is a little disconnected. So we try the best we can, but set etiquette is not the first point I would recommend. I would recommend it after you've asked yourself the 4 questions, cruised the websites, figured out if, like me in my younger days, I knew I wouldn't succeed as a technician, so I became a manager, and really enjoyed that. But I really had to self-evaluate to make sure I was going in the right direction. Set etiquette would not have provided that for me.
Right.
Wonderful.
And I'll just add, Tom is right. The set etiquette course that IATSE has put together, which is fantastic. Sometimes we send our members there, but our set etiquette and sort of new member training course, I guess we call it. Yeah, it's very focused on performers, right? Our people do very different things on sets. You don't have somebody that's represented under Tom or Lisa that, has to show up early or show up a couple days before and try on a whole bunch of clothing, right? Or has to wear other people's clothes, or who have to take off their clothes, right? And do some pretty intimate things. So yeah, each union sort of has tailored their equivalent of set etiquette in some way to be really specific to what the job is. The other thing I just wanted to talk about, because there was some questions in the chat, and I just thought it would be easier to talk it out instead of typing it all out. I just want to make really clear, because I know sometimes people, it can get a little bit confusing who does what and who's on first. So ACTRA is the union that represents performers. We have collective agreements, we have memberships, but then there's also the talent agents, right? ACTRA is not a talent agent. And so for anybody who doesn't know, a talent agent is somebody who is hired, keyword, hired by the performer to basically go out and find them work, sort of like a headhunter in a way. I hope there's no agents on here. I don't mean to offend, but that is their sole role, right? So they go out through a whole bunch of different digital technology. submit their performers for roles. When the performer does get a role, the agent then is the one that negotiates sort of the above scale rates, because if they're working on an ACTRA job, they have the base collective agreement that says, you know, they're going to get paid this much a day. These are their working conditions. But if you have a good agent and if you have some street cred and a really good resume, your agent can get you rates that are above scale, right? Or get you things in your rider, like you have your own private trailer, or you know, if there's a whole bunch of wacky stuff, the sort of the more successful you are, you will only drink this kind of water. You know, obviously that doesn't happen all that often to emerging Alberta talent, but it can be done. So to get going in Alberta, especially if you want to get a speaking part, you've taken some training, you've done some non-union work, right? You've worked on some of the lower budget sets, you have some experience. It really is a good idea to get a talent agent because that is their job. And on our website, I'll put the website there in the specific link. We have a whole bunch of information on how to find a good talent agent because there are a lot of sketchy talent agents out there, a lot. And right now, especially, we see sort of like this ebb and flow. The more media play that there is out there over a specific project or the industry, more sort of fly by night people claiming to be talent agents are coming out. You see a lot of and so anyway, on our website, there's really good information on how you can kind of determine who's legit, who's not. There's a lot of really great places online too that you can do some research. There's some really great Facebook groups, for example, that are for Alberta performers. There's Calgary performers, Edmonton performers, where you can put out some questions and get some real time feedback. So just be really careful. I know I don't want to put out any names or anything because I've gotten myself into trouble about talking about shifty talent agents, but you know, if they're advertising, and there's somebody advertising right now on Instagram saying that they're promising big things. You can work on the next season of Last of Us. You can work on the next Disney thing. A true talent agent under their code of conduct aren't allowed to do that. So, you know, and being a performer too, you can have all the skill in the world, but you know, if your look, your height, your waist size, unfortunately, I mean, it comes down to that. If that doesn't fit somebody's creative vision of you, you're not going to get that particular job, right? So don't buy into, you know, we can get you work on all these big projects. Just look after yourself. Sorry, rant over. I see Lisa's hands up.
I was just gonna, that was a good rant, Tina. There are sketchy people out there and they prey on people too, right? Miranda asked if set etiquette with IATSE would apply for DGC permittee status. So within the DGC permittee program, there's 3 courses that you need to take. One is flag training. One is a set etiquette course, which we offer, but we also accept Tom's set etiquette course that IATSE does. And we have an ultimate PA workshop course that we also teach, which is kind of a bit more in-depth information about the DGC and what we offer. So I just wanted to let you know that.
That was very valuable information from all 3. Tina, I appreciate the warning because you are right. As many things hit the media, all of a sudden it can spur a counter reaction to it. That's great advice. Keep an eye on the chat. Some information is going up in there that'll be very helpful. Be sure to click on the links.
I just wanted to say both Lisa and Tina brought up important aspects of unions, and Now you see that there's some caution out there, and unions are a great backstop of information, trying to keep people out of trouble. When you look at collective agreements, I want everyone to understand those agreements represent the minimum terms and conditions. You can always, when you're successful, negotiate higher wages, but the unions will not tolerate people undercutting the wages that they post. And it's important because this is an industry of smoke and mirrors. It's easy to get led astray, and the unions are there to provide sound counseling and professional commentary on what the acceptable standards are, right down to the letter of the law. So unions are important. We don't try to organize everything that moves, but we do try to set standards that producers and employers won't undercut. And what does that achieve? Safer and more respectable workplaces. We are constantly aware of harassment, bullying, inappropriate behavior, and the unions lead with their chin on these issues, and we have zero tolerance for misbehavior. Yet the motion picture industry finds ways to challenge ethics, and unions are there to push back. And that's what the three of us do literally every day that we come to work. There's a lot more pushing than pulling, but we're solution based, and the industry's never had a brighter time than it does today, and tomorrow will be better. So we're feeling really good about our work. I wanted to make sure that people on this call understood the power and the role of the unions often keeps us safe and bully free, and that's an important aspect.
Great point. The career path that you've taken, I like your analogy of a hallway with many doors. I'd like to hear some of the other experiences about where you got started, maybe what kind of geared your path to where you are now.
Karen, I'm just sorry to interrupt. I think Georgina had her hand up there. I don't know if you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Georgina. If you'd like to ask a question, please do.
Okay, so there's a few things that have come up since I've been listening. I've been in the film industry 32 years, and I'm in, Screen Actors Guild first, then ACTRA and Directors Guild. I used to talk to probably who is your boss now, Lisa, when I first came here, and I had a great meeting with Tom Benz about incorporating Indigenous peoples in the film industry. And then I got severely sick and disappeared for a while, but now I'm back and ready to go at it again. But there's, as far as Tina, I wanted to add something to what she was saying about agents, and there's a lot of shady ones out there. And I get asked all the time because so many people ask, how do I get in the film industry as actors and performers, background, extras, stunt people, our horseback riders want to do this, that, constantly. And it's just like, if an agent says you got to pay me, $650 to get in, they're shady as hell. An agent should never ask you for money, ever. They want to look at your acting reel. They want to see what classes you've taken, that kind of thing. They should never ask you for money up front, and they can never make false promises, because an agent has to submit you as talent, and the power is not in their hands. They have no power to get you cast on anything. They can simply submit you as a talent, and then it's the director or producers, if it's commercials, it's advertising agents, whoever it is, they have to look at it and they make the decision. Agents have zero power except for to submit you. Okay, so they have no power to get you anything, and there should never be money exchanged. So here's what I wanted to ask Tina. I wasn't aware. So as a producer, I'm wondering, in Screen Actors Guild, so on the United States side, if somebody wants to get an agent, they call Screen Actors Guild, and there's a list of signatory agents that they pay a fee every year to be, so they have to fulfill a very long like checklist of things that they understand. It's like, you know, you have to have your test. So you're assured that you're a bona fide, legitimate Screen Actors Guild agent. So you're, as a talent, you wouldn't go out and get a non-SAG, a non-signatory agent. So that's another way that the guild, one thing, ACTRA could make money, because the agents have to pay a fee every year to get that license renewed. And then if actors say, hey, this agent didn't pay me my money, or they, you know, there was some shade there, then they can call we get to call SAG and say, hey, this happened and my agent didn't do this. And then there's a bad mark on that agent. So then we know who's good and who's not, who's legitimate, who's not. And you would just go out for a non-union agent, right? You would make sure that they're signatory. So is that happen in ACT? So is there a list of ACTRA? Like, I never had to do that here. Is there a list of these folks that would get it back?
Okay, are we back? Okay, yeah, I just had a momentary freeze there. So no, because we're set up a little bit differently here in Canada. Some jurisdictions have regulation for talent agents. So for BC, for example, they have to follow a very strict set of rules. And are listed on a government website. And so that's there. What we do here, and I think the same thing goes for Montreal and the Maritimes, is to be listed on our website. And, you know, our website is just purely for information purposes, for our members, for people who want to become our members, because we like to say every non-member is going to be an ACTRA member one day, or should strive to be. Anyway, but we maintain a list, and the performers, or sorry, the talent agents have to adhere by a code of conduct that we have put together, which is based off of the TAMAC, which is the Talent Agent Association of Canada, plus the, the ethical, it's a group of organizations that includes TAMAC, Canadian Actors Equity, that have put together sort of some guidelines around ethical behavior for talent agents. So the talent agents in our list, they don't pay money, but they have to adhere to that to be listed on our website. And that's pretty powerful. And most talent agents want to be listed on our website, because a lot of the casting directors won't use talent agents that aren't listed on our website. And so it's just a service we provide. And we're pretty, you know, again, our job is to advocate for performers and not regulate talent agents. So, you know, we're not sort of, you know, monitoring talent agents every hour of the day. But if we do get complaints from performers, members or non-members, about shifty agents that maybe are listed on our site, we will investigate. And because we own and control our website, if you don't abide by those rules, you're off, right? We just take them off, and you can come back and talk to us in a year when, you know, when they clean up their act, to see if they can be put back on the website. So yeah, that's kind of what we do here, and that's sort of the practice in Canada. I know Toronto sort of has the same thing, so a little different than SAG.
Thank you. One of the other questions, actually, I've lost track in the chat here, but it looks like we're doing pretty good. One of the questions that I'd like to ask, with the growth of the film industry, or at least it's getting a lot more media, how has that changed the roles of your organizations? I'm assuming it's made you much, much busier.
Yes, much busier. When I first started here in 2015, there were 6 of us. There's now 12 of us. Our membership in 2015 was about 750, 800. Now it's 1,500. In those short years, we've grown because job opportunities have come. But it's important to say that it's about having a sustainable flow of work. And that's tricky when it's project orientated, and you know, as a motion picture career, you'll have hundreds, literally hundreds of employers to make a career. That's not ordinary for professionals in other industries. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and we're busy. Yeah, we're busy. I know Lisa and I, ACTRA and DGC share an office. So we're constantly having conversations on how we can expand our office space or reconfigure our office space to get more people in there to advocate for our members. One of the other exciting things, so we've talked about a lot of, and Tom mentioned like a lot of the US production, which definitely is a huge driver here in Alberta. But we are also seeing, you know, and it could be a lot better, but we are seeing an increase of Canadian production and low budget production happening here. So with ACTRA, we sign a lot of low buck, hate to say even no buck projects, because we want to get the producers, we want to create job opportunities for our members. And so like last year alone, and this is excluding commercials, video games, corporate, we had over 80 lower budget projects that we're shooting in the province. You know, and yes, so some of them were weekend warrior things on the phones, like mom's cooking lunch, you know, really low dollar stuff, friends coming together. But we also signed a number of feature films that were created here in Alberta, crewed by people in Alberta, and also had performers primarily from Alberta. So there's a lot of job opportunities there. And so we're seeing the growth, and especially right now, which is kind of our typically has been our down season in Alberta. So, you know, January, February, we're location based. A lot of people come here to shoot the beautiful scenes, but when it's -30, less attractive. But in the last couple of years, what we're seeing is a lot of our local producers and directors are actually shooting their projects now, so that they can get that crew, they can access that talent before sort of all the big shows are rolling in. So right now alone, I think probably in the next couple of weeks in Calgary and Edmonton, we're going to have like a couple web series, a couple low budget features. So that's really exciting. So there is, you know, and there's great opportunity, just locally driven opportunity. You know, and can be found through different resources and different groups like the Calgary Society of Independent Filmmakers down here, or FAVA up in Edmonton. It's another really great, 2 other great organizations that you can tap into to kind of do some networking and meet some like-minded people.
Well, fantastic. Thank you. Do any of our attendees have any questions you'd like to ask? Feel free to put them in the chat.
I see a question about Lethbridge there. Many shows have shot there. I know that on Brokeback Mountain, there was a tour put together to visit locations. They would constantly go to Lethbridge. Fort McLeod is also a huge draw. The beauty of the buildings there has seen many pictures, again, including Brokeback Mountain, Ghostbusters, The Last of Us. They've all been there. And Lethbridge falls in the jurisdiction of 212. Our crews do go there and they're accommodated. The crews are looked after very well. And what I will say is that particularly in southern Alberta, many of the communities are regular stops, like Fort McLeod, like the Crow's Nest Pass. So we do expect our agreements accommodate ways that producers can travel and visit and shoot in these areas. And I expect areas like Lethbridge only to see more and more shows. And again, we consider Fort McLeod part of Lethbridge because when a big crew shoots, they stay in Lethbridge. Fort McLeod can't accommodate them. But there's lots to be said about University of Lethbridge as well. I know the DGC and the IA have inroads there to try to provide courses and discussions. We see a lot of people living in Lethbridge within our local. I'm not sure if Lisa sees Lethbridge residents, but Lethbridge is alive and well, and we'll be back.
The only
No.
thing I would add to, sorry, Tina, to the
go ahead.
Lethbridge conversation is just that, you know, if you're living in Lethbridge and you're waiting to start working in the industry, that might not be your best foot forward or way to go forward. You might want to go to a busier sector, a busier area, you know, to try to get your first couple of experiences, because it might take a while. And then once that time comes in Lethbridge, perhaps then that'd be an opportunity to go back. If you know, if that's where you live now and that's your thought. I don't know, but
Yeah, but there is, sorry, guys, but and so like the bigger stuff does roll through Lethbridge, and I totally, when I was talking about FAB and CSIF, I forgot about LIFS, which is the other indie film co-op down in Lethbridge. So that's another good place if you're in Lethbridge or the area you can get connected to. And there are smaller budget projects getting done there. So, and we've got a number of members that are working down there in some of the smaller projects. So it, you know, a good way to maybe get in the door before you know, before you want to decide to move to Calgary.
Great. Thank you. One of the questions that's come up is there a difference between talent representation and an actual talent aid?
Talent representation. Well, I guess like talent representation, maybe, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Like, is that talent? I mean, there's talent managers that just deal solely with sort of the management side, the money side, the PR side, and then there's the talent agents that are the ones that submit and help negotiate wages for performers. I don't know if that answers the question. I think I need a bit more clarity there, or a little more, yeah. Not quite sure if that answered it.
One of the other questions that's come up in the chat is if you're already a member and you're in between, like you said, the in between gigs, what are some of your suggestions for people to remain busy and be able to gain some extra experience?
so I'll just add, because I think LM is a DGC registered permittee, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. I get to know people's names, but I don't see their faces. So so part of becoming a registered permittee is you're put on an availability list where you advise your availability, and we send that availability list out. The DGC does, for folks interested, productions interested in hiring production assistants, so the very entry level position. So we put that out every week to the current filming productions and ones that are in pre-production, and they're getting their offices together. So we're constantly getting names out. Right now, we're finding that because there was so many shows kind of going all at once, and we grew that permittee base really quickly, because the need for The Last of Us was, you know, quite extensive with everything else that was going on in the province at the time. So right now we have like a larger pool of registered permittees, and maybe people aren't getting calls. So I think that that could be the experience that Ellen was speaking about. But you know, from the DGC's side, definitely keep putting in your availability, because individuals have gone and moved and changed and done all kinds of different things. Right now we have about 200 registered permittees with the DGC that are looking for work and getting their name out there and contacting and productions are contacting them as they're hiring, and they're going through those lists. So I can see what you're saying here. What else you could do around the city to grow your career? We could definitely still do your best to be involved in the low budget stuff and the film festival opportunities. I'll let anybody else take it from here, because I just went on a tangent on you, but yeah, go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just listening to your tangent. I don't really have much more to add on on that front. Georgina, your hand high.
So again, I'll jump in on that one. You know, I tell people, if you want to get experience, go to the universities or colleges or FABAs, like the places where there's up and coming directors and writers, and volunteer for them to be on set, because when you're on those, you wear 4 or 5 hats. Like you're bringing wardrobe, plus you're going to build a set. Like you're doing so many things, and you just get to have a different experience, and you start meeting who's going to be the next giants that can hire you, you know, and you become friends. It's another way of networking. And then Lisa already covered it. The film festivals, go to Banff, you know, go to the Calgary Film Festival, go to Vancouver, go to any film festival you can, and start meeting the filmmakers. It's really, you know, form relationships. One of my friends, Matthew O'Connor, who runs Reunion Pictures, he was just in Edmonton. We're pitching 2 TV series right now. And he says, you know, everything in this business is about relationships. If you have good, solid relationships, you shouldn't be, you know, worried, because you're always, whenever that person gets a job, they're calling you. And so there's people that I've hired that I've brought together as a group in the United States side. And those people still, because they formed relationships, somebody's making a movie in New York, all of a sudden they call James, they call everybody, and come on, we're working. You know, it's just like you form this, it's like a family atmosphere, because you're doing a creative process together. There's nothing more magical than that, right? So it's a really beautiful experience. And especially if you work on location, that becomes your world for however long you're there. If you're there for 30 days, 60 days, whatever long the production is, that becomes your family. You're there more with those people than you are your own children and your wife and husband or whatever. So you become very intimate with those people. So, you know, just start forming relationships and networking and finding opportunities for network situations. But your colleges and your film schools are awesome. They always have bulletin boards, and you say, you know what, I'll volunteer and go help them out. And they'll never forget that. You know, people who help them build their career. It's a you scratch my back thing, right? Yeah.
I found it interesting that film and the interest is everywhere. Just learning through the chat that there's independent filmmakers in Lethbridge. That's just interesting. A couple of questions that have come up. Are there opportunities by watching the Actors Access? Not sure. I personally don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's listing of opportunities, perhaps.
Yes. So Actors Access is part of Breakdown Services. So Breakdown Services is the service that casting directors in Western Canada use, so primarily Alberta and BC, to post job opportunities and to post the breakdowns on the projects that are coming. So as a performer, you can register for Actors Access, set up your profile, and then through Actors Access / Breakdown Services, you can submit yourself, which, you know, in submitting yourself means, you know, your profile, your headshot, which then hopefully will get you an invitation to submit a self-tape audition or participate in a live audition.
This may be another question for you, Tina. Is there crossover permits needed interprovincially for actors?
So I think I answered that. So ACTRA is a national organization. So if you get a permit, like if you're a non-member or an apprentice member and you get a permit in Alberta, it will be recognized in any other jurisdiction across the country. Even in British Columbia, I know that there's, just because it's UBCP ACTRA, they have a slightly different name, long history. They left sort of, now they're back. But the membership rules apply right across the country. So, and ACTRA members can travel across the country and work in any jurisdiction as a performer.
Wow, fantastic. I'm not sure now if we'd like to take a break or if there's other questions. I'll maybe ask Carolyn.
I was just coming on to say, why don't we take 5 minutes? We're gonna paste the link to the survey in the chat. If you could please, yeah, it's there. If you could please just take it, it's really quick, couple minutes. So it's what time right now? 8:25. Come back about 8:30-ish. Will that do? Or yeah? Okay, sounds good. We'll see you in 5 minutes or so. We're at 8:30. We've got another half an hour. Use as much time as you need there or leave early. It's all up to you. I'll let you take it away, and I hope everybody's filled out the survey. Thanks.
You know, I
Yes.
wanted to bring up an off topic, but as people try to find work, they often don't talk about their hobbies. And I want to just use an obvious example on how sound people get noticed is when they put in their other activities that they're a musician. And there's so many examples like that. We had a person come into our set etiquette class, and I found out that they were a blacksmith. Next thing you know, they're making suits of armor and weapons for pictures. And neither of us would have really come across that alone until I started seeing opportunities in pictures. And this person quite unintentionally mentioned that they were a blacksmith. Again, think of a musician in the sound department. Think of your hobbies, how they might look at all of the websites and all of the job classifications, and think of your hobbies where someone like a musician in a sound department would be noticed. I wanted to put that out there because it's not that intuitive, and it's really important. We encourage people in set etiquette to always include on their resume somehow their interests and their hobbies. Their volunteer work is hugely important. It doesn't have to be related. It shows your attitude, and that is something that you can promote with yourself. Wanted to mention that while we had a few minutes.
Such great advice. That's just wonderful. Thank you. I've really appreciated all the links our panelists have put in the chat tonight. It's been really great. Thank you so much. I'd like to see if anyone from our audience has any questions they'd like to ask. Well, perhaps on that note, what I will do is ask for your final thoughts of wisdom. What's one thing you would like us all to take away from your discussion tonight?
Well, I guess I'll go first. Yeah, don't give up. Like it's just, you know, Tom had those questions at the beginning that he mentioned. Understand that things will shift and change. Your interests are going to shift and change. Once you get on a set, and then on a larger set or a smaller set, you know, you might think like, hey, I want to be in the locations department. That's how you get your job. But then you might learn of other positions that didn't even cross your mind that are of interest to you. And then when it comes to performance, like it is one of the hardest jobs in the world. And not so much when you're spending your time on set, but just getting there, getting on set. You are going to go through thousands, you know, if you're taking this seriously, thousands of essentially job interviews, right? Your auditions, and just stick with it. Don't give up. And also, it's so important to take training, right? Our members and the ones that get the work on a lot of the projects, a lot of the local performers, they're constantly training. And that is just super, super important. Yes, there is like a natural talent, but those are few and far between, and the training and the workshopping is incredibly important if you want to be a working performer.
I can add to that. I would just say, if I was going to add to that, sorry, I would just say that remain open, open opportunities. For an example, I have someone in my accounting department that's been working on an IA contract under the construction department because she had an opportunity and she was given it, and she said, yeah, I can try that. And she just went with it and met, opened a completely new door. And from then other doors have continued to open. So for someone who's used to using spreadsheets and accounting to go to construction, that's a pretty big jump, but that's the beauty of film, right? These doors can open for folks. And once people see that you're a hard, dedicated worker, you can literally go anywhere within film. So it's a wonderful thing.
Great.
I'd like to say that it's important to remember your most employable asset is showing a desire to learn. There's no director out there who tries to make a film like they did before. They're always in a learning curve. And so to embrace the spirit of making a film, show that you have a desire to learn. And it's a bad day when you don't learn something. You don't know what you don't know. So get out there and learn it, and you will be far more successful. It's counterintuitive to walk into the dark, but that's what I'm asking you to do, and you will see the light somehow. And you can't do it without actually getting out there and doing it. That's the best advice I could give you. It's up to you.
Fantastic. Always great advice. Work hard. One of the questions that I did see in the chat is, I understand that audition tapes were more common during our COVID times because of social distancing. Do you think that's something that'll carry on in the future, or will they go back to live auditions?
The age-old question. It's a hot topic within our organization over the last 3 years. So, there is a benefit to doing self-submit in your self-tapes, because performers, and with our membership that live across the country or across the province, sorry, let's say lived in Lethbridge or Edmonton, would have to travel many hours for like a 10-minute job interview or an audition, where this way, doing the self-tapes, they're able to get in front of casting directors and producers a lot easier. So there is the benefit there, but then you also lack, when you're not in the room with somebody, getting that really important feedback and body language that you can get from a casting director or a director. So for right now, I think in the meantime, what we're seeing is a bit of a hybrid model, so that we are starting to see more in-person auditions, but those are usually on the, like if you're getting a callback, where they have a smaller list of people that they're taking a look at. And I think probably moving forward, I think we will all get back in the room eventually, but I think self-tapes will still be a reality, which again, can be a good thing, especially if you're not living in a major center, or even if you are living in Calgary and you have another job, right? Like you might have a day job and you can't, take time off for work to go to an audition. It does give a lot of flexibility there. So yeah, it's definitely, it was a major shift during the pandemic for our performers, and definitely something. In our last round of bargaining, we tightened up the language around auditions and limited the amount of pages that a performer or that a producer can ask performers to do. Lots of conversations about the costs, right? Because before, with the live auditions, the producer had to bear the weight of the cost to, pay for the casting director, pay for the session, pay for the camera operator, whatever. And now a lot of those costs have been downloaded back onto the performer. So, we're advocating for higher callback fees and this type of thing to help subsidize the performer. So anyway, sorry, I could go on and on about that. 3 years of conversation. So anyway, that's hybrid for the near future.
It's so interesting, the advocacy all three of your organizations do. A lot of them were things that I'd never thought about. Of course, they use small children in commercials. I guess I had never associated that with working conditions, but of course. It's wonderful. It does look like the audition tapes are quite a hot topic. Tom, any last words of wisdom?
If I can do it, anybody can. Get out there.
Looks like Brenda Fox has a question.
Yes,
Hi,
please, Brenda, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Karen? Okay, good.
Yes.
I wasn't sure which mic was on. Anyway, I'm going to include some of my armor into my self tapes and into my reel that I put onto all of my auditions. And oh, now I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, how can we access the recording? I noticed that you recorded this. How can we access the recorder, Karen? Because I missed the first few minutes.
If you've registered in advance, we will certainly send you the link, and in a very short period of time, it'll be up on our Ears Elephant Artist Relief YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you. Good. All right.
Great.
excuse me, we have somebody is asking, they had a question about the funding help for low-income artists.
So I
That's
was
weird.
just trying to respond to that. I'm not as fast in the chat.
That was from Heather Cameron.
Oh, that's not the one I was reading. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so for the DGC courses, I'll just say that folks that are in this call can reach out to the DGC general inbox, which I will put in the chat right now, and mention that they were in this workshop. We typically have 1 or 2 seats per workshop that we utilize for folks in students and or folks that are of low income. We make those opportunities. We don't necessarily advertise that on our website, but folks can just reach out to the DGC office and we can make those things happen. We do in-person and online workshops, so it's been really helpful. The hybrid or COVID, since COVID, now that we don't have to always go to Edmonton to teach a workshop, so it's a really nice. We do a little bit of both at the moment, and that works out really well for our folks in the regions. And in Red Deer, you can jump on and join us in a call, which is a nice thing that we are capable of doing now.
Well, doing it online, you can certainly reach a broader audience throughout all of Alberta. That's really wonderful.
Our training has expanded that way for even location. There's location courses that we do, which is an interesting thing to do online, obviously location scouting, but there's a homework element involved. So the folks that are doing the scouting, is a couple of days for the courses, and then they come back with what they gather. And it's an interesting way to adapt to the courses that we used to have, but it's really great to be able to, expand our reach that way.
Great. Here's a great question. What's your favorite part about the film industry, and maybe a life lesson that you've learned from it?
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
For me, there's been many, but the one that is hitting home recently is that I realize in my lifetime, I wouldn't have known so much about First Nations and Indigenous cultures if it wasn't for my involvement in motion picture. When I grew up, all people my age of First Nations were in residential schools. I didn't meet them until I was an adult, learned about their culture, scouted their lands, and have recently been involved in many initiatives to learn about my home. And if it wasn't for motion picture, I can see a huge void in my life because I was exposed to it. And it's been very, very important to me. So I just wanted to say motion picture and their stories put you in circumstances that you weren't ready for, and they're great. And I would recommend it to anybody.
I would pose the same
Brenda had
question.
another question. She had her
Yes.
hand up for a while. I'm just, go ahead, Brenda.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. So that was all. Great answer, Tom. Yeah. Great show.
What about you, Lisa?
Um,
Did you have any turning points?
I would say just being exposed to everyone. So, you know, in the wonderful people and wonderful creative people that you meet in the industry and we meet on a daily basis, you know, and maybe not so much when we're at our offices and we're at our desks and, you know, working on contracts and agreements and boring things. But, you know, when you get to go to set and see all the members, and it's really great here. Like, I know Betty Tong is a registered permittee of the DGC. I've met her on set, and just different names I'm seeing now, which is hi. So nice to see folks, and getting out to set is so important, and meeting everyone is honestly my, you know, it's just a thing that brings me absolute joy in the office and in this industry, to get to connect with folks and that get to do, you know, trace their dreams and do these really cool careers.
And I would imagine in that industry, you would have to think quick on your feet to handle things as they come up. What about yourself, Tina?
Well, I guess it's a final piece of advice. You know, we talked about a lot how people move around, right? And to keep yourself open and look for different positions. And so even though we're relatively busy and our industry is growing, we're still a very small industry comparative to, you know, some of the larger jurisdictions like Toronto and Vancouver. And so my piece of advice is be kind, right? Because you never know who is going to be in that position to hire you for your next position, right? Don't talk smack, don't get caught up in all the gossip, because, you know, and be professional, because there's a natural governor on this industry. If you behave badly, you know, you talk badly about people, it will get out there. And even though, you know, nobody wants to say that, you know, retribution or black marks or any of that stuff, it does happen. So just, you know, and be kind to everybody. That's basically it, because I've seen it. And I think Tom and Lisa probably have seen this too, right? Somebody's, you know, one bad move, one mistake, one thing where you're not being your kind human self, and that can just ride on your back for your entire career and really hurt your job opportunities. So
Great advice. And we should all be kind all the time, regardless of your industry. It would just make for a better world everywhere. So thank you all very much. I'm going to give you back to Carolyn, our lead in programming for EAR.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Well, what a great evening. It's just been so much information. It's awesome. I wanted to thank Tom Benz, Lisa Pearl, and Tina Alford for coming to join us. And Karen, thank you very much for being the great moderator and host. And here's a little plug. Please consider supporting YEAR any way you can. Really, we'd love it. Oh, and our next umbrella talk coming up will take place on March 15th. It's called Taxes for Artists. And it's an info session featuring representatives from AFA, CADA, and CARFAC. So please, please join us. Thank you so very much. We have a whole bunch of messages, but I think, yeah, I think they've been looked after. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you so much to all three of our guests. Appreciate your time, your energy, and of course, your expertise. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who came out tonight.